Imagine standing in the center of a room filled with thousands of people. They are screaming your name, their hands are clapping in a thunderous rhythm, and their eyes are locked onto you with absolute adoration. In that moment, you feel alive. You feel real. But now, imagine the lights turn off. The crowd disappears. The room goes silent. Suddenly, in the dark, you are terrified. You feel as though you have ceased to exist. This is the trap of validation. And this is the story of Julian. Julian was the most celebrated violinist of his generation. When he stepped onto a stage, he didn't just play music, he cast a spell. He had performed 4 kings, sold out the grandest concert halls in Europe, and his name was whispered with reverence in every academy. To the world, Julian was a god of melody. But in the quiet of his dressing room, Julian was a beggar. He was addicted to the applause. It was the only fuel that kept his heart beating. He checked the reviews obsessively. If one person in a crowd of thousands frowned, Julian would lay awake all night wondering why he wasn't good enough. He didn't play the violin because he loved the music anymore. He played it because he was terrified of the silence. He had become a performer who was constantly asking the world, "Do you see me? Do I matter?" Eventually, the pressure became too much. His hands began to tremble. The music, once his voice, became his cage. Desperate to escape the noise of his own ego, Julian traveled to the high Sierras, searching for a man named Elias. Elias was a rumor among musicians. It was said he was the greatest master of sound alive, yet he had never recorded a single album, never sold a ticket, and never played for a crowd. He lived in a small wooden cabin perched on the edge of a massive canyon. When Julian arrived, he found Elias sitting on his porch, slowly whittling a piece of cedar wood. The silence of the canyon was immense, almost crushing. "I have come to learn your secret," Julian said, his voice shaking with the anxiety of a man who needs to be impressed. "I want to play like you. I want to play the perfect note." Elias looked up. He didn't ask for an autograph. He simply pointed to Julian's violin case. "Play for me," Julian smiled. This was his territory. He lifted his Stradivarius, closed his eyes, and launched into his most difficult, technically dazzling concerto. His fingers flew like lightning. He poured every ounce of his skill into the performance, waiting for the inevitable look of shock and awe on the old man's face. When he finished, he struck a dramatic pose, breathing heavily, waiting for the applause. There was only silence. The wind rustled the pine trees. Elias didn't clap. He didn't smile. He just shook his head gently. "You are very loud," Elias said. "You are shouting." Julian was offended. Shouting? That was a masterpiece of precision. "No," Elias replied calmly. "You were not playing for the music. You were playing for me. You were begging me to like you with every note. It is exhausting to listen to a man who is begging." Elias stood up and walked to the edge of the canyon. "Come here," Julian followed, frustrated. "Shout into the canyon," Elias commanded. Julian hesitated, then yelled, "Hello." A second later, the canyon replied, "Hello, ... hello, ... That is your life, Julian," Elias said softly. "You shout love me into the world, and you wait for the echo to return. When the echo comes, the applause, the praise, the fame, you feel full. But an echo is just a reflection. It is not real. And when the canyon is silent, you think you have died." Elias pulled a simple, battered wooden flute from his pocket. "Now, listen." Elias played. He didn't look at Julian. He didn't look at the canyon. He closed his eyes and played a melody so simple, so honest, that it felt like the wood itself was singing. He wasn't projecting. He wasn't trying to impress the trees or the birds. He was simply letting the music exist for its own sake. He was full, whether anyone heard him or not. "You must learn to play for the silence," Elias said. Lowering the flute, "You must reach a point where the vibration of the string under your chin is enough joy for you. If you need the audience to tell you that you are valuable, you will always be a slave to their mood. Today they clap, tomorrow they throw stones. Why give them the keys to your soul?" Julian stayed in the cabin for a month. He wasn't allowed to play complex concertos. He had to play one single note, over and over. He had to learn to play without hoping Elias would nod his head. He had to learn to enjoy the sound even if no one was listening. It was the hardest thing Julian had ever done. It required him to kill his ego. But one morning, as the sun rose over the canyon, Julian played a simple scale. And for the first time in 20 years, he didn't look around to see if anyone was watching. He smiled, just because the music was beautiful. He was no longer an echo. He was the source. We live in a world that is obsessed with echoes. We post a photo and wait for the hearts. We work hard and wait for the boss to say, "Good job." We dress up and wait for the compliments. We have been trained to believe that our value is determined by the reaction of the audience. We feel that if we are not seen, we do not exist. But the lesson of the silent teacher is this: the value of the flower is not that it is seen by a hiker. The value is that it blooms. The value of your work, your kindness, and your life is not in the applause it generates. It is in the act itself. Stop shouting into the canyon and waiting for the world to validate you. Stop performing your life for an imaginary audience. Do the work because it is true. Love because it is who you are. Create because it brings you joy. When you no longer need the applause, you become free. You become powerful. You can finally play your own song. Next step for you.